This is ENR Groundbreakers. I'm here in Washington, D.C. with Boyd Worsham, CEO of the National Center for Construction Education and Research, and Mike Bellaman, Associated Builders, Contractors, President and CEO. Gentlemen, thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Pleasure to be here.
So I'm just going to get right into these questions I have for you. And the first sort of statement I have is just this idea around the phrase hyperscaling. It seems like the construction industry has really a shoe-in for the word of the year when it comes to our top 400 contractors, our top 500 design firms at ENR. Hyperscaling and the hyperscalers, which includes Meta, Microsoft, Alphabet, among others, have been buzzwords throughout when it comes to revenue gains, when it comes to projects and excitement around different projects. What do you think about that word now?
Well, I tell you, every month we do a construction confidence index and a construction backlog indicator. And so we ask questions about, how do you foresee sales? How do you foresee the need for more people over the next 6 months? And we ask, how many months of backlog do you have? We started asking a question, I think it was probably last year, how many of you are actually contracted to do work on a data center?
Okay.
1 in 7, 1 in 8, 1 in 6, depending on the month. That seems to be the response. So it is a significant market segment.
Right.
So let's just say it's 15%. Huge market we have, 8.3 million in our market, a couple $1 trillion of spend. That's a big number. And so it is not only a buzzword, it's a reality of the construction community participating in it. Obviously, the race for AI, huge national security interests, huge opportunity for productivity gains. There's a lot of conversations, about how that will affect employment, everything. But at the end of the day, the hyperscales, that's real. Hyperscaling is real. It's a real number. It's a real thing.
It's even redefined mega projects, the term we've used for so long.
Right.
Mega projects used to be, and still are, a large stadium, a large, huge hospital complex or public facility. But now, mega projects are, most of them are these data centers, and they are massive projects with tight schedules and a lot of really qualified and talented people out there executing those projects. And we're seeing a lot of teamwork on those projects from these major contractors in the country who are, taking pieces of those, and you see multiple huge contractors working on these projects. But the scale of the project when you go visit them is very impressive, even to somebody who's been in the business 40 years like I have. I go there, I'm like, this is big. And it's really exciting and really, really interesting to see the professionalism and the commitment to safety, the commitment to excellence that's being delivered at that scale in this country today.
Of course, when we think about hyperscale, there is a hyper part and there's the scale part. And to really lean into the metaphor that we often use about the construction industry's labor pool, right? So you have this pool of workers. A project comes along like a bucket, takes some of that pool out and then returns some of it. Along the way, workers retire. Some of them just decide that the industry isn't for them. And so we have this sort of limited pool of workers that are going, it's dwindling, it's fluctuating. But here we have this week, Meta, who's made this big announcement this week about America's Workforce Academy.
Yeah, very exciting.
Very, very exciting.
Very exciting.
And so can you walk me through, they've promised 115, correct me if I'm wrong, 115 million investment in this academy to not only bring more people in the industry, but actually keep them there on projects. So can you walk me through these sort of mechanics of that sort of deal? How did this come together? Where does this partnership with Meta between your two organizations begin?
Well, it begins a number of years ago. Obviously, since data center construction, started to become more popular. Now we're in an area in Virginia where the first data center was like AOL's headquarters, you know, and in there. So I think there's 400 or 500 different data centers just in this area. So it's really kind of started in this area. But the hyperscaling really started coming about, you know, over the last 5 to 10 years. And so our relationship with Meta began a number of years ago. And really at the end of the day, we were getting into wearables and technology and getting that into the construction industry. So we work with their technology people because they're involved in that kind of stuff. And obviously then, you know, there's some design and construction elements to it. And what's interesting is the people that, you know, went to Meta to, you know, head up their design and construction came from, you know, contractors, came from our industry. So we began the conversations and stuff. And what really started to emerge about 4 years ago, when we really got into some conversations, the topic was workforce. You know, we've had this chronic workforce shortage. We, according to our analysis, we see a 350,000 person workforce this year. It's been chronic. It's been going on for a while. And they're starting to see, as they're trying to scale up in this race for AI, they're starting to see how it's affecting them. So they became a very, very focused part of the conversation because they realized in order for them to get their work done, and that's all the hyperscalers, they needed workforce. So we began these conversations years ago. You know, Meta, being a leader, said we got to do something about this, and so they started exploring this option with us, and they made this investment, and this is their idea about this America's Workforce Academy. It is broad. It is, you know, it's a leadership moment. It's a historical moment in our industry. And what we decided was, you know, that we have an all the above kind of education process with regards to getting people in our industry. We have registered apprenticeship programs. We got competency based. We got market recognized credentials. You know, but typically it was an earn while you learn type program. So the worker would enter into a craft professional training or government registered apprenticeship training, union registered apprenticeship training, and they would work during the day and learn in the evening. What this is doing, this paradigm shift, is compressing 200 hours of classroom and hands-on experience into 5 weeks. That we are accelerating the learning process to have new entrants in the industry delivered with competencies that they can deliver work safely, they're job ready, they can be adding immediate value, they can be a valuable team member, they're given skills on how to be a great team player, understanding all of the what it's like to be on a construction site and stuff like that. So they are ready to go, and that's the essence of this particular program. And in the industrial sector, you know, they've invested in workforce education.
They've done
for
2
years.
cents per hour
Right.
models in most cases,
That's
but
correct.
they've been paying to train and educate. I think what Meta's doing here that makes it even more interesting, though, is their focus on new entrants.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you think about this is not just good for the hyperscaler project. This is good for society. This is providing life-changing career opportunities to people that may not get those opportunities. And now you think about it, many people go to work in a career, they can't take time to retrain, to learn something new.
No.
Here, Meta's willing to pay to allow those people that are chosen and selected for these programs to learn something new that can change their life. In fact, even in some cases, change the poverty cycle of a family, right? So this is that big. This is not just saying, you know, if you get to the job, we can upskill you. We will do all of that. This is saying, if you have interest in this industry, we're willing to invest in you and through ABC, NCCER, and the other partners at the table to make this happen.
So there's a part of this, definitely Meta has a name to it, but ABC, NCCER have names in the construction industry, and those names carry absolutely lots of weight
Yes.
to really basically co-sign this effort. So what were as partners in this effort with Meta, what were the sort of sticking points that this initiative had to have for you to be involved?
Well, we got to have a supply, so we got to have interest in the program. And then we got to have the demand at the back end. So I think those are the two key ingredients. If you have a supply of workers, now remember, we have a huge workforce shortage, right? So we're trying to create a program that will be attractive to an individual that's here in the country, that can work legally, okay? So we want to be attractive to that. They make this application, and on the back end, we have the demand. We have contractors ready to hire. So contractor partners of Meta are able to hire these people, and what they'll do is they'll guarantee them a job. So with those two elements, all the elements in between, we've all done before. We've all been training forever. We got some new things that we want to introduce in this program, like we want to give people AI essentials, some 24/7 stuff. We're going to give people CPR, first aid education and stuff. So if they don't make it through the program, they're going to at least walk away with those life skills and stuff. But these are really key components. But I think those are the two main points. Have a workforce that's interested, and then having a contractor that's interested in it. So our job, board and our job, is to create the conditions where we create a worker that comes out of this program that contractors want to hire by the thousands.
Yeah,
That's
job
what we
ready,
want.
job ready to go to work and bring value to their employer from day one. The beauty and what we have to do is get people to understand the opportunities our industry provides. Because we're going to teach them the basic skills and that they need to be, like I said, bring value to their employer the day they walk on the job, and do that safely, do that in all those ways. We'll continue that education in other ways, but the big deal, I think, is that those people, we will also help them understand career pathways. We will help them understand that being a craft professional is noble, wonderful, honest work. To a business owner, an entrepreneur, or a great career with all these wonderful, powerful companies we have in this country that are growing every day. And to me, that's what's cool and exciting.
And we're setting them up with industry recognized credentials, NCCER's credentials. That's an industry recognized credential. Those are portable. They'll always be with them.
Yeah, they own those credentials.
They own those
that
credentials.
belongs to the learner.
And they're also going to come out of this with a America's Workforce Academy certificate. And so I look at that as a market recognized credential. So what that means is, when you have someone, a company on your resume that's a leader in the industry, and it goes, oh my goodness gracious, this craft professional worked on this job with this company, that's like a market recognized credential. Having that America's Workforce Academy certificate, coupled with these critical credentials that capture the competencies that they have, the competencies in safety, the competencies in their craft that they have, those are portable. And so that, with a job, then getting the job experience is a launch pad. It's just the perfect launch for a career.
The launch pad's a wonderful term for it, Mike. I think that's what this is. This is the launch pad for new entrants into our industry.
Now, I know that the program is going to be launching in Indiana, Louisiana, Ohio, and Texas. Now, were these strategic states based on potential workers? How was this really, was the choosing of the states based on where the projects would be? How was that chosen?
Well, first, so America's Workforce Academy, we've been talking about the construction technician opportunity. There already exists a fiber technician opportunity that our other partner, CBRE, is facilitating. They're doing a great job. In that facility, that effort is already in Ohio. Okay, so that's the Ohio base. So the construction tech is going to be focused in Houston, Baton Rouge, and Indianapolis. And there were a lot of factors. I mean, there's so many opportunities, so many areas that we could have launched. And I think what we looked at was need in the facility availabilities and stuff. So we had a lot to choose from. And at the end of the day, what we tried to do is we tried to land in some areas that were diverse in geography, okay? And that the facilities were there so we could ramp up really quick. And we had a number of those locations, but we just landed on these. So it really doesn't matter where it's at, because this is a program for all America. This is where we're starting. We think it's just the beginning. And so, but it doesn't matter if you're in Houston, great, doesn't matter. If you're in Maine, great, doesn't matter. We're going to take care of you, in terms of fly you to the location, the training center, house you, feed you, and equip you. And you may do a project. I mean, Meta's projects are all over the country. So they're going to be going to where the contractors, the construction partners of Meta need them.
And this is all covered under the getting into the mechanics of that 115 million. The scholarships, the housing, the food. This is all covered in that 115 million.
That's correct.
Spent.
Yep. And the cost of training, and the cost of the materials to train, the labs and stuff like that. A lot of that does exist. But also, we want to make sure we got the right stuff for the competencies that we're training. So that may not
more
exist,
of it too.
but we're going to see
more
more.
people. Yeah,
That's
more
right.
of it,
And
right?
we're going to need more of it as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so that's really the logic behind it.
And is there a magic number from this effort that you're hoping to come away from? So if you get, in terms 60,000 new workers, let's say, is there a magic number along those lines that you're hoping to get from this?
I think it's just based really on supply and demand. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we get the entrance in, then we have a demand on the backside. I think Meta recognizes, or American Workforce Academy recognizes, that at some point in time, there's going to be others that will join in this. And so this will be a program that will be beyond just what it's initially set out for. So now we've shifted the paradigm just in this week. I've had people come to me and say, I'm really interested in this, and I think that is going to drive the numbers. So you tell me, what do you think the numbers are going to be? We got 350,000 workforce.
And we at
shortage right
NCCER, we have been contacted by every hyperscaler and every big contractor doing the work, saying, we want to deliver. We want to bring people into this work, and we need people. And how can you help us do that, NCCER? So when Mike reached out and said, we need to talk, and told me what the plan was, extremely excited. I see this as a catalyst for change for how we deliver craft training and introduce people to construction in this whole country. Other owners are going to get involved with this. Other owners are going to say, this is a good thing to do, not just for my organization, but in general. And I think we will see other owners get behind this same concept. This is the right concept to drive the change we need to solve this workforce development shortage that we have.
I think what happens in the industry when you have a chronic shortage, a lot of people come into this industry through word of mouth.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes when they get out on a job, they determine, you know what, this isn't really for me.
Yeah.
And what this does is this gives the opportunity to accelerate that experience and accelerate that decision. So if an applicant comes in, they're going to be exposed to what it's like to work on a job, and they're going to be able to make that determination pretty quickly.
Yeah, we'll be setting real expectations.
That's right.
Not these false expectations that you have no knowledge. There's no prep.
Right.
And I think we have to. But think about this. Some of these people will have never been on a construction project. Now they're going on the country's largest construction project. We better prepare them for that, right? Because it's going from 0 to 90 that quickly, and in this 5-week period. So I think that prep is huge, and I think that Meta recognizes that to say, we want to get people. We need to look beyond just the local community where these projects are. Some of that's tapped out already. Some of it, there's just not enough people there to do it. So I think they realize that, we need to take the time to prepare people properly to be successful in this industry. And I think this gives us that launch pad to do that, as you said.
I want to talk about, just a little bit more about the mechanics of, okay, these workers are going to be on these job sites. Speaking of NCCER and the accreditation, there's a chance that there will be union workers who have organized labor credits. Do you foresee any challenges around that?
Well, we do that on job sites all over this country every day today. You know, so it's not different, I don't think. And as Mike said, these programs are for everyone.
Yep.
This program is for everyone. So I don't see why we should have trouble or any kind of issues when we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to build a better industry. We're trying to provide more value for our client, and we're trying to provide better lifestyle and lives for those people who work in our industry. So to me, I don't see why there would be, because we don't have that today. We have it in pockets, of course, but it's not widespread. We just want to improve lives through construction education. We're not sitting around worried about that, to be honest with you, about those kind of things. We're worried about how do we make sure we get, we support this program, we make sure that Meta gets everything they expect out of it, and that we get good people into this industry that can ultimately prosper and grow through the industry. And I know it works. I see it, you know, NCCER, any given day, there's 350,000 people using an NCCER product to learn something about the construction industry in some way, whether it's new entrant or superintendent training, doesn't matter, anything in between. So any way we can deliver that, we will do that, and we just truly believe it'll work out for the betterment of our industry and those individuals that are in it. So,
Excellent. Mike, I want to ask you, in terms of, I mean, we talk about this program, and Boyd, you even mentioned that, you know, in some areas there are, you know, there's a labor pool that, you know, it's not, they're potential workers and it's not entirely realized because for whatever reason, this program really seems to be throwing the doors open and say, come one, come all.
Mhm.
How do you ensure at a federal level? I mean, because we've all seen, you know, there's of course that potential worker who says, I don't have experience, and now this program is saying, you don't need experience, just come on in. There's also workers where they might want to take advantage of this program, but they could be in process when it comes to immigration. It was a huge topic for us at ENR, and from what we've seen, we've all seen reports of raids on different construction sites. How do you ensure that that populace who might be on the fence because of that feels like they can take advantage of this program and get involved?
Yeah, I think quite simply, if you are here in the United States and you are here legally and you're permitted to work here legally, it's fine, no problem. We're actually working on some bills right now in the House. There's a number of them trying to address this problem so that we can get a more robust legal work visa process. The H-2B visa system and for our industry just doesn't work. The numbers don't make any sense. You know, 35,000 and they get doubled again, you know, in the summer. So 70,000
Right.
H-2B visas for all non-farm industries. That just doesn't work. So we're working very closely with Congress right now to introduce a bill that would be a market-based visa system. And it will be, I believe that this process that we're talking about right now, if it was in place 10 years ago, we wouldn't have a lot of the issues that we have today. Yeah.
And we were sort of talking a little bit earlier about how there's that through line when it comes to this administration, that this industry can really, it's not only good for the populace that, you know, these elected officials serve, but it's good for building America's infrastructure as well.
Absolutely. You know, I think what we have to all realize is that as a country, celebrating our 250th anniversary, a phenomenal story. I personally believe the best country in the world. We are in a global competition, okay? And I think what's happening now is finally this country is realizing that a secret to the success of this country has been and needs to be and must be and will be a key to our labor force, our workforce.
Let's zoom out a little bit, and I want to talk about the economy that we find ourselves in. And ABC has been a invaluable resource when it comes to the reports that you're releasing and with your economists, and just really keeping an eye on market fluctuations. Now, for a long time, ABC sort of core value proposition has been advocacy and workforce and development and industry representation. As market volatility increases, how is ADC sort of adjusting its role when it comes to that sort of core value proposition of the organization?
Well, our member value proposition to our contractors is founded on the merit shop philosophy. We help our members develop a robust employee value proposition, help them develop their people, win work, and deliver that work safely, ethically, and profitably for the betterment of the communities that we've worked within. Our merit shop philosophy, which is all about meritocracy, giving everybody the opportunity to compete on a fair and level playing field, giving every individual an opportunity like we're giving through America's Workforce Academy. So that philosophy has been there since day one, 1950. The philosophy of helping our members develop a robust employee value proposition and develop their people, that has been there since day one. Now, how we deliver education, okay, what is the right value proposition for an employee? Those types of things have changed as we've matured. I don't know about you, but
Technology's forced it to change.
well,
so.
when I was 16, I turned 16, I just wanted a car that was safe, that I could get around. My expectations of a car are a little bit different today, right? And so when you get into the technology, as we talked about, when I was in, we founded FedEx, and we founded a facsimile. And we had a computer on one of our jobs that we would do the billing in Lotus 123, hit function F9, go to lunch, and it would come back and it would have been calculated. So how we're educating people, how we're using tech, that's completely different. So the value proposition has not changed. How we deliver on that has, and what the expectations of the employee have evolved. And so we're consistently, focus grouping our members, talking to our employees, our members' employees, to understand, at the end of the day, for us, the universal employee value proposition is, in their construction profession, helping them go home safer, healthier, and fulfilled every day. That's the universal value proposition. Fulfillment is at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When you work in a meritocracy and you have the opportunity to learn multiple crafts and you're much more valuable, you feel more valued. You feel more fulfilled. When you have multiple skills and competencies, your value to that project is longer in duration. So you can be there longer on that particular project. You are more valuable. You'll make more money. You'll have a higher wage. You'll have more opportunity. So our value proposition really at the end of the day has been pretty consistent over this course of time, but the expectations have evolved. The technology has evolved. Regulations have changed. Laws have changed. So we adapt to that, but fundamentally, people want to be fulfilled. It's the pursuit of happiness. This is America.
They want to do a good job. They want to know that their work matters. They want to feel like they've contributed to the success of something. And our industry allows that.
And companies realize and continue to always realize that they're only as good as their talent. So attracting great talent, upskilling them so they can achieve their career dreams, and retaining them is critical. Yeah. It's the key point of difference of our industry, that contractors know that it's the people, it's the worker, it's the individuals working together as a synergistic team that help them deliver long-lasting projects excellently, safely, so that they wow their clients, and so that the Metas of the world continue to give them opportunities.
Yeah. Mike, I think you hit on something really important there with the retention. So under this, the America's Workforce Academies, they go to work for a contractor on a meta project. That doesn't mean they're just there for a project. The goal is they're placed with a contractor who will continue to employ, they do their part, they will continue to be employed on many other projects and hopefully stay with that employer for a long time. Many mega projects do go through many folks who chase those jobs, but there's also a great desire amongst those companies to have that stability. And when you bring in people and you get them prepared properly, there is a lot of loyalty, and allegiance to that employer. And I think we will build that through this effort in a really strong way and drive even stronger retention amongst these employers.
Mike, I want to ask you a little bit more about your membership. When it comes to the economy, I know that, in looking at some of your data and talking to some economists, they might find, the contractors, of course, we have Turner Construction coming out and saying that they're committed to hiring people through this program. But we also know that for the Turners of the world, there's another end of contracting where they're not nearly as big as a Turner. How do you help your membership in terms of those contractors who might be feeling that there's sort of like a two-tiered economy? Those who are in that the workflow of, say, a data center or connected parts of that infrastructure, and then there's those who are sort of really might find a little bit more competition to attract workers because these mega projects, these hyperscalers, are really taking a lot of that workforce and attracting. It's exciting to be working on something in the AI boom, attracting a lot of that excitement as well.
Well, welcome to America. Welcome to fair and open competition. Welcome to free markets and free will. I mean, the beautiful thing about our country is we have the freedom to choose, and a worker has the opportunity to go with company A, company B, or company C. And that's the beauty about America, and the companies have an opportunity to hire employee A, employee B, employee C. When I talk to some of the companies that aren't in the data centers, I ask them, how are you affected by this? And they're saying, well, actually, I got less competitors in the work that I do because they're all focused on data centers. Okay, so with regards to the talent and everything, not everybody wants to work on a data center. I mean, we got 8.3 million people in this workforce. And this is the beautiful thing about individual choice. If you want to work in the housing industry, you want to work and build hotels, or you want to work and build, 7-Elevens or whatever it might be, you have the opportunity to do that. And when you work on a small job, being a craft professional in a small job, being a multi-skilled craft professional, that's very, very rewarding on a small job. When you're on a big job and everything, you've got the opportunity to learn these skills and stuff. You get the opportunity to be the big guy or big gal and all that kind of stuff. That's great. So the thing is we have to realize everybody's an individual. Everybody has unique desires. And there's room for everybody. There's opportunities for everybody. It doesn't necessarily need to be the data center. But I will say the gift of this data centers has borne out a leader like Meta that is saying, I would like to give this a go. Yeah. And this is going to be huge. And I believe this is going to be industry transformational.
But projects are relative in size, right? And keep in mind, some of these contractors working on these major projects, they're not all huge contractors either. They're growing, and so they will employ these people just as well as the big companies will. And I think it depends on what that person wants, what kind of company they want, what kind of craft they want to be in, what kind of travel they're willing to do that works for their lifestyle. There's just a lot of factors that I think will help the diversity of this intake of people to settle in the right places for them with the right organizations.
Do you think I wanted to ask you, do you think we're doing enough to study why people leave the industry around that?
We are working on that, actually, but I'm going to work at a little different angle. I don't think people leave the industry. Much of it's just retirement. They've had a great career. They're retiring out, and we haven't brought enough in. So it seems exacerbated, in my opinion, than what it is. What I really want to know is why young people don't choose the industry like they should. And that's what I've got my research team studying. I want to understand that, because what I don't want us to do is us and Mike's members and all the other contractors that we deal with to be chasing the wrong thing,
The wrong
to be
crowd.
putting our effort in the wrong place. And we can sit around and assume, but I'm not 19 anymore, right? And I don't want to make wrong assumptions and put our energies and efforts in the wrong place. I want to understand, why do people not choose our, and I believe it's because of lack of awareness, lack of understanding, but I need to validate that so we can have effective results and we attack the right problem. I was at a conference a couple weeks ago in Charlotte, where some big announcements were made around investments in workforce. And I heard some speakers up there talking, and quite frankly, some of it was incorrect. And I knew that it wasn't a venue where I could correct, and I wouldn't have in public. But nonetheless, they didn't understand. They talk about these programs not existing in high schools. Well, they do exist. NCCER alone is in 2,000 high schools in this country, NCCER programs. And most of those high schools have multiple crafts, right. So it's carpentry, plumbing, electrical, welding, and all the others. So it is happening. I'm trying to validate now, is it happening better than it did 30 years ago? Because I just want to dispel that myth if it's wrong.
Right.
I think it's important that we, as industry organizations and leaders in the industry, help people understand what our problems are and what they aren't, so we put our efforts in the right place, if that makes sense.
There is one element, though, that I think your question, I don't know if you're asking this directly or expecting this answer, but our industry, we have some mental illness challenges in our industry. When you think about it, our industry is physically demanding, so you can get some back strains and everything that might lead to get some, medical attention and some, drug, some painkillers that might lead to some mental illness and stuff. And in our industry, you are 5 times more likely to die by suicide than a safety-related incident. It's a big challenge. And something that we've done at ABC, we started looking at this mental illness, and we do a lot of death by suicide prevention education. But we've been starting to focus on total human health. The industry has typically focused on the one dimension, the body.
Exactly.
Right? PPE, hard hats, stuff like that. I think the CDC released a study in 2018 indicating that this death by suicide issue is the numbers are unbelievable. When I first saw them, I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then COVID, the pandemic, we were declared a essential industry, which is great. But think about it, though. In the early days of COVID, we really didn't know what COVID was. Remember all the myths. It stays on stainless steel for 30 days. People are dying and stuff. But yet, our workforce is still out there working, and people turned their garages into decontamination changers and risking their lives. So that anxiety, that mental anxiety and stuff like that, and it started to really reveal that we need to focus on the 4 dimensions, not just the physical element, but also the mental element. But not only the mental element, the social element, as well as the spiritual. So when you think about the body, you got the body, you got the heart, you got the mind, and you got the soul. And that's where ABC came up with this universal employee value proposition about we don't want to send our people home safer. We want to send them home safer. Safety is a 24/7 project. You don't go from the job site and not work on an A-frame ladder and stand on the top rim to go home to do that. Okay? That's not, we want our workers to be the models of safety. We want every one of our workers in their community to be known as Mr. Safety or Mrs. Safety, right? Then we also want them to go home healthier. So a number of years ago, we started Stretch and Flex and stuff like that. But healthy and wellness programs and being healthy, that is so key, because when you think about it, you come to a job and you're sick, you're not going to be productive. Right? So, a lot of companies now have health and wellness programs and stuff so people can be healthier. And fulfillment is critical. And so this whole concept of total human health. So we've got in our safety management system, which is our world-class safety management system framework. We now have a core component around total human health. We've got a wonderful document that we've created of best practices. Boyd is actually taking, NCCER is taking that and some of the work that they're doing to put it into curriculum so that we can address that total human health. Because here's, so if I would say, why are some people leaving the industry? It may be because of their physical health, it may be because of their mental health. And that's something that we want to eliminate. So we want to send our people home safer, healthier, fulfilled. That will lengthen. The other thing that Boyd talked about is the career jungle gym, which is a new coin, or the career lattices. You worked in the field. Now we're bringing a lot of people in the field into the office and working in the pre-construction space. Teaming them up with some of these young new college entrants that know the technology. They're teaching each other tricks. So the superintendent knows how to physically build the building. These people with the new technology, they've never really been through the built environment and the process, but they make one heck of a team as we start. Basically, what we're doing now is we're designing and constructing buildings in virtual reality before we put them out in the field.
Before we even get out there.
And that's really exciting.
Is this a turning point? Thinking about this program and thinking about sort of we sort of talked a little bit about initiatives with other private companies, but this, as you said, is one of the larger ones.
It's historical.
So is this a turning point? Are we going to look back at this and say, this was a turning point in the construction industry sort of war to get people in the industry, war on not having enough workforce, right? Do we want, in the future, do we want to say, have a Google Academy? Do we want a Microsoft, construction academy initiative? Do we want more of this?
I think that this has the opportunity to be transformational, and I would like to think, we just celebrated our 75th anniversary. I would like to think when we're celebrating our 150th anniversary, this will be a big chapter in that 150th anniversary book.
Yeah, but I think you're absolutely right. I think yes, yes, and yes to everything you said. I really do. I think this is pivotal. This will be transformational, as Mike said. And I do think that owner involvement in anything in our industry drives positive change in most cases, right? And so this is a time where an owner, a project owner says, I want to help solve a problem.
Yeah, we're a team.
That is key.
Yeah.
And that says a lot to the industry. It says a lot to the associations and the other organizations involved in the industry. I think we will see others step up. Who knows what that looks like. We can't predict that today, but I think we're going to show such strong results that others are going to want to be part of that. And so to me, I do see this as good of a catalyst for change as we have seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And I think it's all of our responsibilities to capitalize on that, deliver on that, and make sure that we help to build new craft professionals that move into leadership ranks in this industry over time.
I
think this is a chance to do it.
I do believe the industry has been turning. I do believe our industry has become more attractive.
Yes.
But I think this might cause more of a logarithmic change.
Yeah, well, it will.
It's kind of like an accelerator.
Because we've seen the tool belt generation is real. We see it. I mean, we know how training is growing. We know what's happening out there in the field. We hear it from all our contractor network. And it is amazing. When I went through, me and my team this morning had a call. We went through your ENR's top list of top contractors, went through the top 50. NCCER is actively working with over 40 of those organizations in some form, providing training materials, supporting them in their talent development efforts. So we know it's happening, and we know a lot of people are choosing construction now. They're looking at it, they're realizing these are great jobs that won't be displaced in the future. They may change and they may benefit from some of these technology advancements and enhancements that are happening, but they won't go away. And they want to be part of it. And it's our job to help people understand those opportunities. Because this is really, I don't know how else to put it, this is really cool work our industry does. When you build that built environment, when you do these projects and you take something, out of the ground. I mean, think about this for just a moment. You mentioned Hoover Dam earlier, Mike.
Yeah.
I think it's just the coolest concept you know, when I was a young superintendent, I pull up at a site, maybe it's wooded, maybe it's a farm field, who knows, right? We're either going to harvest the crop and then build something there, or we're going to cut the trees down, send those to harvest, and we're going to put a project there. But years ago, guys pulled up on the side of the Colorado River. Now think about this. They pull up in a Bechtel truck, Big Six truck, whatever it was at the time, depending on whether they created their consortium yet or not. And they look at this big ditch down there and say, we're going to stop that river. We're going to put a bunch of 26-foot diameter tunnels in the wall here, and then we're going to plug this river. You tell me that doesn't take nerve.
Yeah, wow.
Tell me that isn't strong conviction.
And you
you know,
just-
you pull up, you look over and say, I'm going to stop the Colorado River. What the hell are you going to do after lunch, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm just thinking, so it still amazes me to this day. And it's what excites me about the industry, the ability this industry has to solve any problem.
Yeah.
And this can be a catalyst to solve this problem. So I think it's
Excellent.
huge.
Mike, give me an elevator pitch for bringing other private firms to do what Meta has done. What's your elevator pitch?
Well, I think this is open to everybody. I think it's created to be welcoming for everybody. It's called America's Workforce Academy. It's not called Meta's Workforce Academy. It's not called NCCER's Workforce. It's called America's Workforce Academy. I think we realize as an industry, in a country, that we're highly dependent upon the construction industry. We have an infrastructure challenge. We're in a race for AI. We build schools. We build special people places. We build communities. It makes absolute sense for everybody to join into an effort like this, whether it's through this vehicle or another vehicle. I think investing, people are realizing that the workforce is a critical component to America. President Trump has made it his mission to bring back infrastructure, manufacturing, talent, and stuff, build America. And so this is a critical part of that story. It aligns with the American dream and America First kind of strategy, but I think it's very common sense, very natural, very needed, and everybody's welcome to join us.
Boyd, what's your pitch?
I think it's simply the right thing to do. You know, we all live in these communities. We all count on each other in these communities. And I think that by private industry getting involved to say the problem exists, one way or the other, we all pay for that problem. So investment on the front end to help to improve lives for people through construction education so that we can have the strongest defense systems, we can have the strongest infrastructure, we can have all of that. I think it's just the right thing for American companies to do. And I think we have the tools now, we have the technologies to deliver it at scale in the right kind of ways. And so I think that a lot of people get involved with this because it simply is, it is that win-win, as I said earlier. You think about it, the individual gets better, gets a better life, a better job. The company is better because it gets better people working for them in a more expeditious way. The industry gets better because we have better companies. Our communities are better, our society, I mean, it's just the ultimate win-win. Why would people not subscribe to that when they are the buyers of those services? Right? So I think this is just a great example that Meta has put in front of the rest of the construction buying community to say, we're willing to help, it's the right thing to do.
This is the opportunity to invest in the American dream.
Yeah.
Well said, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good job.
This has been ENR Groundbreakers.